The heavy bag swung back, momentum carrying it towards me. I sidestepped, letting it pass. But my eyes weren't on the bag. They were on the chain connecting it to the ceiling beam. Specifically, the bolt holding the chain. It looked looser than it should. Sweat stung my eyes, but it wasn't just from the workout. It was the familiar acid tang of suspicion, a taste I knew too well from my past life. A life where carelessness, or maybe deliberate malice, had cost me everything. I threw a lazy jab, then a cross, my movements automatic while my mind raced. Just yesterday that bolt was tight. I checked it myself. Old habits die hard, especially when you've been screwed over before. My manager, Rick, stood by the ring, fiddling with his cheap silver stopwatch. He glanced up, saw me looking at the chain, and immediately looked away, clearing his throat. Too casual, too quick. There it is, I thought. That little flicker of guilt, that nervous energy. It smelled like cheap cologne and desperation. This felt like an echo, a repeat, a fresh attempt at sabotage, happening right here, right now, even though I was supposed to be starting over, reborn, or whatever you want to call it. Back in my own younger body with all the painful memories intact. The most painful one? Sarah. Her face beautiful and cruel as she placed that bet. Not on me, her boyfriend, the underdog challenger. No, she bet big on Marcus Thorne, the reigning champ, her ex. The memory was a ghost limb, aching where something vital had been amputated. I finished my round, deliberately avoiding the heavy bag now. I walked over to the water cooler, grabbing a paper cup. "Everything all right, Alex?" Rick asked, his voice a little too high-pitched. "You seem distracted." "Just thinking," I said, taking a slow sip. The water tasted like plastic. "Funny how things can just come loose, right? Like that chain?" I watched him. His Adam's apple bobbed. He forced a laugh. "Yeah, crazy. Gym equipment takes a beating, you know?" "I know," I thought. "And sometimes people help it along. Was this Rick's own idea? Or was someone else whispering in his ear? Sarah? Marcus? It didn't matter. This was the first move in a game I'd already lost once. Not this time. Later, I was stretching on the worn, cracked vinyl mats. The gym was mostly empty now, smelling of stale sweat, rubber, and the sharp chemical bite of disinfectant. It was a smell I associated with failure, with lonely nights after devastating losses. I closed my eyes, and the image flooded back. Not the fight itself the first time I faced Marcus, but the moment before, finding that betting slip tucked into Sarah's jacket pocket in the locker room. Marcus Thorne to win. $5,000. $5,000. Everything she had, probably. Bet against me, against us. The world had tilted then. The roar of the crowd outside faded. My legs felt like lead. How could I fight for a future with her when she was actively betting on my destruction? I went out there hollow. Marcus didn't just beat me, he dismantled me, and Sarah collected her winnings. Opening my eyes, the dingy gym came back into focus. The memory wasn't a dull ache anymore. It was cold, hard resolve. A block of ice in my chest where my heart used to be. This second chance wasn't just about winning fights. It was about rewriting the ending. It was about making sure the people who betrayed me understood what real loss felt like. Rick was packing his bag by the door. "See you tomorrow, champ," he called out, forcing cheerfulness. I just nodded, coiling the anger, the knowledge deep inside. Tomorrow, I thought. Yeah, we'll see. The memory kept replaying. Not just the betting slip, but the aftermath. The awkward silence when I confronted her. "It was just insurance, Alex," Sarah had stammered, unable to meet my eyes. Her face, usually so open and expressive, was closed off, guilty. "You know, if you lost, At least we wouldn't be broke." "We?" I'd echoed, the word tasting like ash. "You bet against me, Sarah, against us. There is no we when you do that." "Don't be so dramatic," she'd snapped, defensiveness rising. "It's not like I wanted you to lose. It was just pragmatic." Pragmatic. That's what she called driving a knife into my back just before the biggest fight of my life. I remembered the feeling, not just anger, but a profound, soul-crushing disappointment. The person I loved, the person I thought believed in me more than anyone, saw me as nothing more than a long shot, a bad bet. And Marcus? He'd been smug, condescending in victory. He knew somehow. Maybe Sarah told him. Maybe he saw it in my eyes during the fight. The hollowness. That defeat hadn't just cost me the title. It cost me my confidence, my career trajectory, and the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. It sent me spiraling down into cheap fights, cheaper whiskey, and a darkness I barely crawled out of before. Well, before I woke up back here. Younger, weaker physically, but armed with the terrible clarity of hindsight. The next morning I got to the gym early. Rick was already there, wiping down some equipment with a rag, whistling off-key. I walked over, grabbed a fresh towel. "Morning, Rick." "Hey, Alex. Ready to hit it hard today?" He seemed determined to act normal. "Always," I said. I paused, then added casually, "Hey, I brought you a coffee. Figured you might need it." I held out the steaming cup from the local cafe. He looked surprised, then wary. "Oh, thanks, Alex. You didn't have to do that." "No problem." I leaned against the ropes, taking a sip of my own coffee. The aroma filled the quiet gym. "So I was thinking about that heavy bag chain last night." Rick froze, mid-wipe. "Yeah?" "Yeah. Lucky it didn't snap when I was really wailing on it, you know? Could have been nasty. Broken foot, maybe worse. Could have put me out of commission for months." I kept my tone light, conversational. He swallowed hard. I saw his knuckles whiten as he gripped the rag. "Yeah, lucky. Makes you wonder about maintenance schedules, right? Gotta stay on top of that stuff. Especially with a potential title shot maybe coming up down the line?" I let that hang in the air. Rick started wiping the machine again, faster this time. "Right. Absolutely, safety first." He wouldn't look at me. The scent of his cheap cologne, something trying too hard to smell expensive, seemed to get stronger as beads of sweat popped out on his forehead. Gotcha, I thought. He was rattled. He knew I suspected, but why? Was he just cutting corners? Or was this malice? Was he trying to sideline me? Maybe he'd bet against me too? Doesn't matter, I decided. He showed his hand. He's unreliable, he's a vulnerability, and vulnerabilities needed to be dealt with. That evening, after Rick had locked up and gone home, I let myself back into the gym using the spare key I wasn't supposed to have. The place felt different at night. Silent, shadowy, filled with the ghosts of past workouts. I went straight to Rick's cramped office. It smelled of stale coffee and desperation. Papers were piled high on the small desk. A cheap motivational poster drooped from the wall. "Pain is temporary, pride is forever." I snorted. From my gym bag, I took out the micro camera. Tiny thing, easily concealable. I'd bought it online weeks ago, a paranoid purchase fueled by the memories of my past life's betrayals. Turns out, paranoia was just realism in my world. I scanned the office. The fake potted plant on the filing cabinet was perfect. Dusty plastic leaves, nobody would look twice. I carefully wedged the camera deep inside, angling the lens towards Rick's desk chair and computer monitor. Remote access, motion-activated recording. It felt slimy, planting a spy camera, but the memory of Sarah's betting slip, of Rick's shifty eyes, hardened my resolve. This wasn't about playing fair. This was about survival. It was about ensuring I controlled the narrative this time. I checked the feed on my phone. Clear picture. Good audio pickup. Okay, Rick, I thought, slipping out of the office and locking the gym door behind me. Let's see what you're really up to. It didn't take long. 2 days. The motion sensor alerted me to activity in the office after hours. I pulled up the live feed on my phone, sitting in my small, bare apartment, the city lights painting patterns on the wall. There was Rick, slumped in his chair, on a video call. I recognized the guy on the screen, Jimmy the Weasel Russo, a promoter for a rival MMA organization, known for his shady dealings. Yeah, I loosened the bolt, Rick was saying, his voice low and conspiratorial. Just enough to maybe spook him, you know? He's got the talent, sure, but he's a head case. Always has been. Sarah used to say he choked under pressure. My blood ran cold. He'd admitted it, and he'd brought her name into it. Russo chuckled, a wheezing sound. Good thinking. Keep him rattled. Maybe he takes a dive, maybe he gets injured. Either way, Thorne stays champ, and my guy gets a shot next. Exactly, Rick said, leaning closer to the screen. Look, if Alex flames out, you gotta promise me that scouting job, Jimmy. I'm tired of managing broken-down wannabes. You deliver, Ricky boy, you got it, Russo promised. I stopped the recording, my hand trembling slightly, not with fear, but with rage. He wasn't just negligent. He was actively working against me, conspiring with a rival, using Sarah's past criticisms as justification. All for a shot at a slightly better job. The next morning, I created a burner email account. I edited the video slightly, just focusing on Rick's admission about the sabotage and his deal with Russo. I typed a short, anonymous message. Thought you should see what Thorne's potential challenger is dealing with. I sent it to Max Kellerman, a notorious MMA blogger known for breaking scandals. The story dropped less than 3 hours later. Maximum MMA rumor mill. Manager admits sabotaging rising star fighter. Conspiracy with rival promoter exposed? My phone started blowing up almost immediately. First, reporters. Then Sal, my old boxing coach who sometimes helped out, shocked and asking if it was true. Then, the calls from Rick. Dozens of them. Panicked. Desperate. Voicemail 1. Alex, pick up. That video, it's taken out of context. We need to talk. Voicemail 2. Alex, please, they fired me. My career is over. You gotta help me clear my name. Voicemail 3. You did this, didn't you? You set me up. Why? What did I ever do to you? I listened to the voicemails, a cold satisfaction settling in my gut. I didn't answer. I deleted them one by one. Rick was collateral damage, maybe, but he'd made his choice. He'd aimed a weapon at my back. I'd just made sure it backfired. One down, but the real snakes, Sarah and Marcus, were still coiled, waiting. This was just the beginning. With Rick gone, things felt cleaner. Sal stepped in as my interim manager. He was old school, honest, maybe a little naive about the dirty side of the fight game. But I trusted him. More importantly, I was in control now. My comeback started gaining traction. I took fights on short notice, moving up the regional rankings. First, a quick knockout in a smoky veterans hall. The crowd smelling of cheap beer and cigarettes. Then a dominant decision win in a small casino on the outskirts of town. The lights brighter, the cheers louder. Each victory felt different this time. Sharper, more focused. The movements felt ingrained, a combination of the muscle memory from my past life and this strange, almost unnatural energy that hummed beneath my skin since I'd returned. I wasn't just winning, I was dominating. My opponents looked confused, overwhelmed by speed and angles they didn't expect. Whispers started in the MMA forums. Alex the Ghost Riley is back? Is this the same guy who flamed out against Thorne? He looks different. The small crowds started chanting my name. The roar wasn't deafening yet, but it was building, a steady crescendo promising bigger stages, brighter lights, and a collision course with Marcus Thorne. I trained relentlessly, pushed my body past limits I hadn't known before. The memory of past failures wasn't a weight anymore. It was fuel. Every drop of sweat, every aching muscle was forging the weapon I needed to dismantle the life Marcus had built on my defeat. Then, inevitably, Sarah reappeared. It started with a text. "Hey, Alex, saw your last fight online? Incredible. So proud of you." I ignored it. A few days later, another one. "Been thinking about you. Can we talk?" Delete. Then she showed up, at the gym, right after sparring, as I was toweling off, drenched in sweat. She stood by the entrance, looking hesitant, almost vulnerable. Almost. "Alex?" I turned slowly. She was dressed down jeans, a simple top, but the expensive leather jacket and the faint scent of La Vie Est Belle, Marcus's preferred gift, gave her away. "Sarah," I said, my voice flat. "Hi." She offered a small, tentative smile. "I know this is awkward, but I heard about Rick. That's awful. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I repeated, my standard answer. I started unwrapping my hands, keeping my eyes on the task. Good. She took a step closer. "Look, Alex, I know I messed up. Badly. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't regret." She trailed off, biting her lip. She reached out, her fingers brushing my forearm. I flinched, pulling my arm back instinctively. It wasn't a conscious thought, just a reflex born of deep-seated betrayal. Her eyes widened slightly, hurt flashing across her face before being quickly masked. I miss you," she whispered. "I miss us." My gut clenched. Part of me, the ghost of the man I used to be, wanted to believe her, wanted the comfort, the familiarity. But the cold, hard core of my reborn self knew better. This wasn't about regret. This was about calculation. My star was rising again. Marcus's image was slightly tarnished from the Rick scandal fallout. People wondered if Thorne's camp had pushed Rick, and she was hedging her bets. Or worse, gathering intel. "There is no us anymore, Sarah," I said, keeping my voice even. "We made sure of that." "Can't we just talk?" she pleaded. "Coffee, please, for old time's sake?" Against my better judgment, a plan began to form. An ugly, necessary plan. "Fine," I said curtly. "Tomorrow, noon, the Coffee Bean downtown. Let's see what game you're playing this time, Sarah." The Coffee Bean was noisy, crowded. The smell of burnt coffee and sugary syrups hung heavy in the air. Sarah was already there, tucked into a corner booth, nursing a latte. She looked up as I approached, her smile trying too hard. "Hey," she said, gesturing to the seat opposite her. "Thanks for coming." "What do you want, Sarah?" I asked, skipping the pleasantries as I sat down. "I told you I want to talk. Apologize." She leaned forward, her expression earnest. "What I did, betting against you, it was the stupidest, most selfish thing I've ever done. I was scared, insecure. Marcus was messing with my head." She launched into a long, rambling explanation. Excuses, justifications, blaming everyone but herself. I let her talk, nodding occasionally, keeping my face a neutral mask. Inside, I felt nothing but ice. She kept glancing at her phone, resting screen down on the table beside her purse. A nervous habit? Or was she waiting for something? My own phone was in my pocket. Before sitting down, I'd activated the voice recorder app. Risky, maybe, but necessary. "So," I said, interrupting her flow, "are you still seeing Marcus?" She hesitated. "It's complicated." Doesn't sound complicated, I said. Either you are or you aren't. We talk sometimes, she admitted evasively. He's going through a lot with the bad press from the Rick thing. Perfect. Time to execute the next step. I reached for my water glass, deliberately fumbling it. Water sloshed across the table, dangerously close to her expensive purse. "Oh, shoot, sorry," I exclaimed, grabbing a fistful of napkins. Sarah yelped, snatching her purse away. In the brief chaos, her fussing over the purse, me dabbing at the spill, I slid my phone out of my pocket and placed it screen down on the table, right where her phone had been, partially obscured by the sugar dispenser. Then I stood up. "Wow, I really made a mess. Let me get some more napkins from the counter," I said, forcing a sheepish grin. "Be right back." I walked away from the table, heart pounding slightly. "Take the bait, Sarah, just take the bait." I took my time at the counter, pretending to study the pastry display. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sarah pick up her phone. Then, after a moment's hesitation, she picked up my phone too, thinking it was hers, and dropped it into her purse. Her own phone went into her pocket. Got it. I grabbed some extra napkins and headed back. "Sorry about that," I said, sitting down. "It's fine," she said quickly, maybe a little too quickly. "No harm done." We talked for a few more minutes. More apologies from her, more non-committal grunts from me. I made an excuse about needing to get back to training and stood up. "Thanks for the coffee, Sarah," I said. "Will I see you again?" she asked, hope flickering in her eyes. "Maybe," I lied. "Take care." I walked out, leaving my phone and its active recorder in her purse. The plan was simple. Track my phone's GPS. Wait until she met up with Marcus, which I was betting would be soon. The recorder would capture whatever they said. Later that evening, sitting in my apartment, I watched the GPS dot of my phone move across the city map. It stopped at a familiar location. The underground parking garage of Marcus Thorne's luxury condo building. Bingo. I activated the remote audio feed. Static, then muffled sounds, then voices. Sarah's and Marcus's. "Can't believe you met him," Marcus was saying, his voice tight with irritation. "I had to." Sarah's voice was sharp, defensive. "He's getting bigger, Mark. People are talking. That whole thing with Rick blew back on you. We need to know what he's planning, who his new team is." "And did you find anything out, genius?" Marcus sneered. "He's playing it close to the vest," Sarah admitted. "But he seemed, I don't know, maybe willing to reconnect? He's still the same naive idiot underneath it all. Give me some time. I can get his training schedule, find out his weaknesses." There was a pause. Then Sarah's voice changed, becoming wheedling. "Speaking of which, you know I'm a little short this month. That money you promised me for, keeping tabs?" Yeah, Marcus said dismissively. "Check your account tomorrow." "Thanks, Mark. You're the best." Her voice dripped with false sweetness. I saved the recording, a cold, triumphant fury washing over me. Naive idiot? Still the same? She had no idea who she was dealing with now. This recording wasn't just proof of her duplicity, it tied Marcus directly to her spying. It was perfect. Now, how to use it for maximum impact? The next day, I spent hours carefully editing the audio file. I cut out the dead air, the background noise, sharpened their voices. I focused on the most damning parts. Sarah admitting she was spying, asking for money, Marcus agreeing to pay. I made sure it was undeniable. Using another burner email, I sent the audio clip titled "Pillow Talk or Conspiracy" to Max Kellerman at the MMA blog. I also sent it to a couple of mainstream sports journalists known for digging into scandals. The explosion was immediate and far louder than the Rick story. Sports shocker. Champion Marcus Thorne, implicated in spy scheme against rival. ex-girlfriend caught on tape admitting to paid espionage. The story was everywhere. Sports networks, news sites, social media. Sarah's picture was plastered next to Marcus's. She was branded a gold-digging spy. Her social media was flooded with hate. She effectively became a pariah overnight. Marcus's camp issued a furious denial. Miss Dubois acted alone, driven by personal motives. Mr. Thorne was unaware of her activities and deplores her actions. Nobody bought it. The audio was too clear. His agreement to pay her was the nail in the coffin. Sponsors started getting nervous. Calls for the Athletic Commission to investigate Marcus Thorne intensified. His golden boy image shattered, replaced by that of a cheat who needed his ex-girlfriend to spy on opponents. I watched the fallout from a distance, a grim satisfaction warming me. They were panicking. Their reputations were in tatters. And just then, the official announcement came. Thorne versus Riley. Championship fight. 6 weeks away. The pressure cooker was about to explode. They were wounded, cornered animals now, which made them even more dangerous. Can I handle the heat? I thought, looking at the fight poster mock-up on my screen. I have to. 6 weeks. It sounded like a long time, but in fight camp, it evaporates like sweat on hot asphalt. The announcement turned the simmering media attention into a boiling frenzy. Every sports show debated the betrayal bout. Was I the wronged hero? Was Marcus a desperate cheat? Was Sarah the ultimate femme fatale? Marcus, predictably, came out swinging, verbally at least. In interviews, he was pure venom. Riley's a fluke. He got lucky against cans. That recording, doctored, fake news. He's trying to distract from the fact that he choked last time and he'll choke again. He called me obsessed, delusional, a stalker. He tried every trick to get under my skin, to provoke a reaction. I remembered how his words used to burrow into my brain in my past life, how his confidence chipped away at my own fragile self-belief, how I'd walk into the cage already half-beaten by his psychological warfare. This time, it was different. His insults felt hollow, like rocks skipping off ice. The cold resolve inside me didn't waver. I saw his bluster for what it was. Fear. He was the one under pressure now. He was the one whose carefully constructed world was crumbling. I trained in silence, letting my fists do the talking and sparring. Sal handled the media, keeping me insulated. The neon glare of the cameras during mandatory press events felt hot, but I met Marcus's enraged stare with calm indifference. Let him burn himself out with fury. I was saving my fire for the cage. Marcus might have been losing the PR war, but he still had influence. The dirty tricks started subtly, then escalated. My regular sparring partners suddenly became unavailable. One had a family emergency, another suffered a freak training injury, a third just stopped answering calls. Finding quality replacements on short notice was tough. Sal scrambled, looking stressed, his usual optimism fraying at the edges. Then came the rumors. Whispers started circulating online. I'd pulled out of sparring, I was nursing a secret injury, I wasn't taking the fight seriously. Anonymous sources feeding poison to the blogs. Classic Marcus. The atmosphere in the gym grew tense. Every new face felt like a potential spy. Every minor setback felt like potential sabotage. Was the water bottle tampered with? Was that new heavy bag chain really secure? The paranoia I'd felt before Rick's exposure came creeping back, amplified. "Don't let him get to you, Alex," Sal said one afternoon, watching me eye a new sparring partner suspiciously. "This is what he does. Tries to break you down outside the ring." "I know," I said, forcing myself to relax. "But it's hard to trust anyone right now." "Trust me, trust the work," Sal insisted, clapping me on the shoulder. His faith was reassuring, but the feeling of being isolated, of Marcus's invisible tendrils reaching into my camp was deeply unsettling. Was he succeeding? Was I letting the pressure crack me? I couldn't afford to be reactive. I had to anticipate his next move. Marcus was predictable in his ruthlessness. Psychological games and minor sabotage hadn't worked. He'd try something more direct, something closer to the fight itself. Tampering with gear? Trying to bribe someone on my team? Poisoning my water? It was time for silent revenge, round 3. The setup needed to be flawless. I contacted Ghost, the discreet security consultant Sal had found for me, an ex-Special Forces guy with a shaved head and eyes that missed nothing. Assume Thorne's camp will try to compromise something essential in the final 72 hours, I told him over a burner phone. Supplements, water, hand wraps, gloves, maybe bribe a corner man. Standard procedure for scumbags, Ghost replied, his voice gravelly. You want surveillance? Full lockdown, I confirmed. Micro cameras in my assigned locker room at the arena as soon as we get access. Eyes on my corner supplies, water bottles, ice packs, adrenaline swabs, everything, 24/7. Nobody touches anything without you clearing it. Consider it done, Ghost said. Anyone specific I should watch? Keep an eye on anyone associated with Marcus who tries to get near my team. Especially a hanger-on named Vinny Moretti. Short guy, slick hair, probably wears too much jewelry. Vinny was Marcus's go-to errand boy for dirty work. Vinny Moretti, got it. The paranoia didn't disappear, but now it felt channeled, weaponized. Let them try something, I thought. I'll be waiting. Fight week. The tension was thick enough to choke on. We finally got access to our assigned locker room at the arena. Ghost and his team swept it for bugs, then installed their own practically invisible cameras covering every angle. My supplies were kept under lock and key, with Ghost or one of his guys constantly present, 48 hours before the fight. I was resting at the hotel, visualizing the bout, when my burner phone buzzed. It was Ghost. We got him. What happened? I asked, sitting bolt upright. Vinny Moretti just paid a visit to your cutman, Pops, Ghost explained, his voice calm. Tried to have a friendly chat in the hallway outside the locker room. Our hallway cam caught it all. Clear audio. He played the recording. Vinny's oily voice, trying to sound chummy. Just saying, Pops. Big fight. High pressure. Sometimes a guy needs a little extra boost. Later rounds, you know. Helps with the recovery. Then the unmistakable sound of an envelope being offered. Little something for your trouble. Nobody needs to know. Then Pops's voice, bless his grizzled, honest soul. Get the hell away from me, Vinny. I don't do that crap. Tell Thorne to fight fair for once in his life. Vinny muttered a curse and retreated. Pops okay? I asked. Shaken, but he's solid, Ghost confirmed. Didn't take the bait. Relief washed over me, quickly followed by cold fury. Marcus was really going there, trying to have Pops use excessive adrenaline swabs between rounds, hoping I'd gas out or suffer cardiac stress. It was attempted assault, plain and simple. He's desperate, I realized, and desperate men make mistakes. This evidence was gold, but releasing it now might cancel the fight. I didn't want that. I wanted to beat Marcus in the cage. I wanted the world to see him fall. We made a strategic decision, leak part of it. Enough to wound him, not kill the match. Ghost edited the audio, removing Vinny's name, but keeping the context clear. Someone from Thorne's camp attempting to bribe my cutman to administer illegal substances during the fight. Another anonymous email, this time sent directly to the Athletic Commission chairman and leaked simultaneously to Max Kellerman. The effect was immediate. The commission announced an emergency investigation. They wouldn't cancel the fight, not yet, but they placed Marcus's entire corner team under intense scrutiny. Officials would be stationed directly behind his corner during the bout, monitoring every action, every water bottle, every instruction. The psychological blow to Marcus must have been immense. He was now fighting not just me, but the suspicion of the entire sport. His usual swagger seemed forced, brittle, during the final press conference. Checkmate isn't here yet, I thought, watching him squirm under the reporters' questions. But his king is definitely exposed. The weigh-in, the final face-off before the war. We stepped onto the scales, both making weight easily. Then, the traditional stare-down for the cameras. Center stage, lights blazing, cameras flashing like strobing artillery fire. I stepped up to Marcus, inches apart. His cologne, expensive this time, couldn't mask the faint scent of fear sweat. He puffed out his chest, trying the old intimidation tactics, glaring, sneering. I didn't glare back. I just looked at him, calmly, deeply, letting him see the absolute certainty in my eyes, the certainty of his impending defeat. For a split second, behind the manufactured rage, I saw it. A flicker. Genuine doubt. Maybe even fear. He knew I knew about Vinny. He knew the commission was watching. He knew his tricks hadn't worked. He knew the man standing opposite him wasn't the same one he'd broken before. I saw Sarah in the back of the crowded room, half hidden behind a pillar, pale, drawn, looking anywhere but at the stage. She looked lost, irrelevant. The commissioner separated us. The crowd roared. The heat from the lights felt like a physical weight. Tomorrow night, I thought, walking off stage without a backward glance. No more shadows. No more games. Just the cage. And the reckoning. Fight night. The walk from the locker room to the cage was surreal. A tunnel of sound, the roar of 20,000 people, the thumping bass of my entrance music, Sal's voice murmuring final instructions in my ear. It felt distant, filtered like I was moving underwater. Then, the cage door slammed shut behind me. The noise focused. The lights seemed impossibly bright. Across the octagon, Marcus paced like a caged tiger, eyes burning with a mixture of hatred and desperation. The bell rang. Round 1. He came out fast, throwing heavy leather, trying to end it early. He caught me with a clean right hook that sent stars exploding behind my eyes. I staggered back, tasting the familiar copper tang of blood from a split lip. The crowd roared, sensing blood. Just like last time, a treacherous voice whispered in my head. Round 2. Marcus pushed me against the cage, unloading a barrage of punches. I covered up, weathering the storm, then clinched, driving knees into his thighs. We ended up on the ground, a grueling scramble of limbs and sweat. He landed some heavy elbows. I felt my energy starting to dip, the ghost of that first humiliating defeat clawing at the edges of my mind. Was I fading already? Sal's voice cut through the noise between rounds. "Breathe, Alex! Stick to the plan! He's throwing wild, looking for the knockout! Whether it make him miss, make him work!" I nodded, sucking in deep breaths, trying to clear my head. But the doubt lingered. End of round 3. I slumped onto the stool, head bowed. Sal wiped my face, applied pressure to the cut lip. The noise of the arena faded into a dull hum. I felt adrift. Marcus was strong, relentless. My plan to wear him down wasn't working as quickly as I'd hoped. Then, something shifted. Not in the cage, but inside my mind. A memory surfaced, unbidden, sharp and vivid, not from my previous life fighting Marcus, but from years before that. I was 19, backpacking through Asia, searching for something. Meaning? Myself? I ended up at a remote monastery nestled high in the mountains. Cold air, thin chanting, the smell of incense and pine. There, I met Master Jian. He wasn't what I expected. Small, frail, ancient, with eyes that seemed to see right through me. He watched me practice some basic kickboxing moves I knew, my movements clumsy and full of wasted energy. He approached me silently, didn't introduce himself, just started talking about breath, about centering energy, about moving with force, not against it. He showed me some strange, slow-motion exercises, intricate breathing patterns, ways to feel the energy, chi, he called it, flowing through my body and connecting with the ground beneath me. It seemed like mystical mumbo-jumbo at the time. I thanked him politely, stayed a few more days, then moved on. But for months afterward, almost subconsciously, I found myself practicing those breathing techniques when I couldn't sleep, doing those slow exercises as a cool-down after workouts. I never understood why. Now, sitting on the stool, battered and bleeding, it clicked. The pieces slammed into place with the force of revelation. That was it. That was the source, the rebirth, the second chance. It wasn't just random luck. It hadn't just reset the clock. It had somehow fully unlocked the dormant potential Master Jian had sensed, the techniques he'd tried to teach me, the enhanced reflexes, the uncanny anticipation, the deeper well of stamina. It wasn't supernatural. It was the result of forgotten training, finally integrated. My internal monologue shifted instantly. The doubt vanished, replaced by a surge of clarity and power. It felt like waking up. I wasn't just reborn, I realized, a fierce grin spreading behind my mouthpiece. I was upgraded. The bell rang for round 4. I stood up, and everything felt different, lighter, sharper. Marcus came forward, expecting the same fighter from the first 3 rounds. He got someone else entirely. I didn't just block or absorb his punches, I slipped them by millimeters, letting his momentum carry him off balance. My footwork, guided by Jian's principles of flow and evasion, was faster, more fluid. I moved with his attacks, redirecting his energy. I started landing counters, crisp jabs that snapped his head back, unexpected spinning elbows, body kicks that landed with a thud, drawing a grunt of pain from him. My breathing was deep, controlled, just as Jian had taught, conserving energy, maintaining focus. Marcus looked confused. His wild swings started missing more often. Frustration etched itself onto his face. He was fighting predictable patterns, but I wasn't using them anymore. The crowd sensed it immediately. The roar changed. The pro-Marcus chants faltered, replaced by gasps and shouts of "Whoa!" as I landed another clean shot. The tide wasn't just turning, it was becoming a tsunami. I saw the confusion in Marcus's eyes turn to panic. He didn't know how to fight this. He didn't know who I was anymore. My edge, I thought, circling him, feeling the energy thrumming within me. I found my hidden ace. Now? Time to finish him. The championship rounds. 4 and 5. This wasn't a fight anymore. It was a masterclass. My movements felt effortless, guided by that newfound connection to Jian's teachings. Marcus was swinging for the fences, telegraphing every move, fueled by pure, desperate rage. I slipped, I weaved, I countered. I targeted his body relentlessly, sapping his strength, breaking his will. Thudding kicks to the ribs, sharp hooks to the liver. He winced with every blow. His breathing grew ragged. The frantic instructions from his corner, now under the watchful eyes of commission officials, seemed to fall on deaf ears. He was running on fumes and fury. Through the blur of motion, I caught glimpses of the crowd, faces rapt, stunned. I saw Sarah, standing near the walkway now, her face pale, tears streaming down her cheeks. She wasn't watching a fight. She was watching the complete destruction of the man she'd bet everything on. Twice. The bright, harsh glare of the overhead lights seemed to isolate Marcus in the center of the cage, exposing his exhaustion, his fading power. He lunged, a wild, looping right hand. I pivoted, letting it whistle past, and landed a sharp, snapping kick to his lead leg. He stumbled, his knee buckling slightly. He's ready to fall. I didn't rush. I stayed patient, circling, waiting for the perfect opening. Marcus, desperate, threw a sloppy combination jab, cross, hook. I blocked the jab, slipped under the cross, and as the hook came wide, I saw it. Time seemed to slow. I planted my back foot, rotated my hips, and unleashed a spinning back kick. My heel connected flush with the side of his jaw. Crack. The sound was sickeningly loud, even over the roar of the crowd. Marcus's eyes rolled back in his head. He didn't fall. He collapsed, like a puppet with its strings cut. He hit the canvas hard, out cold before he landed. The referee didn't even bother with a count. He waved his arms frantically, diving between me and Marcus's prone form. It was over. Silence. A stunned, collective intake of breath from 20,000 people. Then, eruption. The sound hit me like a physical wave, deafening, primal. My corner flooded the cage. Sal grabbed me in a bear hug, shouting incoherently. Someone threw the championship belt over my shoulder. It felt heavy, real, earned. Confetti cannons exploded, showering the octagon in glittering paper, flashing lights, shouting faces. It was chaos, but underneath it all, I felt calm. A profound sense of release, like a massive weight I'd been carrying for 2 lifetimes had finally dissolved. Liberation. That was the word. Pure, unadulterated liberation. The next hour was a whirlwind. The official announcement of my victory. Bruce Buffer's iconic voice bellowing my name as the new champion. Raising the belt high as the crowd roared its approval. Post-fight interviews in the cage, bright lights blinding me, microphones shoved in my face. I gave generic answers, thanking my team, thanking the fans, adrenaline still singing in my veins. My team carried me around the octagon on their shoulders. I scanned the arena, a sea of cheering faces. Then I saw him. Marcus, conscious now, slumped on his stool, head in his hands, looking utterly broken as doctors checked him over. A universe away from the smug champion who'd taken everything from me. As my team lowered me near the cage door, I saw her. Sarah, pushing frantically against the security guards holding the crowd back, her face desperate, shouting my name, trying to reach me. Our eyes met for a fleeting second across the chaos. I saw panic, regret, maybe even fear in her gaze. I felt nothing. No anger, no pity, just emptiness where feelings for her used to be. I turned away, letting Sal guide me towards the locker room, leaving her behind the barricade, lost in the noise and the receding tide of the event. A week later. The initial media storm had subsided into a steady buzz. I'd moved out of my cramped apartment and into a sleek, minimalist penthouse overlooking the city, paid for by the championship bonus. The spoils of war. I was heading out for an evening run, enjoying the anonymity the city offered away from the fight world. As the glass doors of the lobby slid open, I saw her. Sarah, waiting on the sidewalk, looking small and out of place against the backdrop of polished chrome and expensive boutiques. She wore no makeup. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She looked desperate. She saw me and rushed forward, stopping a few feet away. "Alex," she breathed, her voice trembling. "Please, can we just talk? Please?" I stopped, waiting. Tears welled up, spilling down her cheeks. I was wrong, Alex. So wrong. About everything. Betting against you, listening to Marcus, spying for him. It was poison. I see that now. I was stupid and selfish and weak. She took a shaky breath. "I know I don't deserve it, but I never stopped loving you. Not really. Can you ever forgive me? Can we try again? Please?" Her apology hung in the cool evening air, mingling with the distant sounds of traffic. It sounded hollow, like lines learned from a bad script. Maybe she meant them, maybe she didn't. It didn't matter anymore. I looked at her, the woman I once thought I couldn't live without, the woman who had shattered my world, and I felt only a vast, calm distance. The wounds she'd inflicted had scarred over, leaving behind something hard and impenetrable. "No," I said. The word was quiet, barely audible above the city hum, but it landed with absolute finality. Her face crumpled. The last shred of hope seemed to drain from her eyes. I didn't wait for a response. I turned, walked back into the gleaming lobby, and let the automatic doors slide shut, sealing her out, leaving her alone on the sidewalk with the wreckage she'd made. The final tie. Severed. 6 months blew by like falling leaves. Life settled into a new rhythm, one dictated by my own terms, not by the ghosts of the past. Mornings began before dawn, not with the jolt of remembered pain, but with the quiet purpose of training. My new gym, built with the championship earnings, was state-of-the-art. Clean lines, top-tier equipment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the awakening city. The smell wasn't stale sweat and desperation anymore. It was potential, hard work, and the clean scent of expensive rubber mats. I trained smarter now, not just harder. Incorporated more of Jian's principles. Focused on longevity, technique, the art as much as the fight. I started coaching a few promising young fighters, finding a different kind of satisfaction in guiding them, protecting them from the pitfalls I knew too well. Occasionally, news updates about Marcus Thorne would flicker across the sports tickers. Thorne loses again in lackluster performance. Former champ drops out of top 15 rankings. What happened to Marcus Thorne? His fall from grace was swift and brutal. Stripped of his aura, exposed as a cheat, his career imploded. I'd read the headlines with a detached curiosity. There was no gloating, no surge of vengeful pleasure. Just observation. He was a problem solved, a chapter closed. His fate was his own making. One rainy Saturday, I decided to finally clear out the last few boxes from my old life, stored in the back of a closet in the penthouse. Old clothes, cheap trophies from amateur fights, dog-eared paperbacks. Tucked inside a worn copy of Hemingway, I found it. A photograph. Sarah and me, taken years ago before the first title shot, before the betrayal. We were on a beach somewhere, laughing, arms around each other, squinting into the sun. Young, hopeful, oblivious. I looked at the smiling faces, ghosts from a different reality. The man in the photo felt like a stranger. The love, the trust, the future he believed in, all erased, overwritten by betrayal and rebirth. For a moment, a faint echo of sadness resonated. Not for her, not for what we lost, but for the naive young man I used to be. Then I tossed the photo into the recycling bin, along with old bills and junk mail. No anger, no regret, just finality. Letting go of the last anchor to a past that no longer defined me. A few days later, a simple, plain postcard arrived in the mail. No stamp, no postmark, just slipped under my door somehow. On one side, a stark, elegant ink drawing of a single snow-capped mountain peak. The other side was completely blank. No signature, no message. But I knew. Master Jian. A silent acknowledgement, perhaps. A reminder of the hidden strength I'd found. Or maybe just a nudge, telling me the journey wasn't over. I smiled, placing the postcard on my desk. A quiet connection to the source of my second chance. Evening descended. I stood on the expansive balcony, a warm mug of green tea steaming in my hands. The city sprawled below, a breathtaking tapestry of lights against the deep velvet sky. The distant hum of traffic, The occasional siren, the neon glow rising from the streets. It wasn't noise anymore. It was the city's heartbeat. The cool night breeze felt clean, refreshing. It carried the faint scent of rain-washed pavement and distant spices from the restaurants below. This was it, the real victory, not the belt hanging on the wall inside, not the money in the bank, not the downfall of my enemies. It was this quiet moment, this unshakable peace, this sense of being exactly where I needed to be, forged in the fires of betrayal but not consumed by them. They bet on me losing. They bet on my failure, my heartbreak, my destruction. And in the end, they were the ones left with nothing. Sarah, adrift and alone. Marcus, a forgotten footnote in the sport he once ruled. Rick, scrambling for relevance in the minor leagues. They had learned the true meaning of loss. My future stretched out before me, vast and unknown as the night sky. Fights to win, a legacy to build, maybe even someday, trust to rebuild. But on my terms. Always on my terms. I took a slow sip of tea, letting the warmth spread through me. The city lights glittered like scattered diamonds. I was the ghost, reborn, remade, and finally, truly free.